Hello, my name is Sydney Walsh, and I will be discussing Giftedness Explored. The three topics that I will be discussing are boredom, age grouping, and I will also be debunking a few common myths that are told about gifted students in a regular education classroom. So first, I would like to start out with boredom in the classroom and what gifted students experience and how they go through that process of working in the classroom to becoming bored and distracted and distractible. So gifted students begin to get bored when they feel under challenged, frustrated, overwhelmed, uninterested. They begin to get bored when they finish their work in 15 minutes after receiving it, and they have a whole 50-minute lesson that they have to use that time. So how can we keep this from happening? There are a few ways to get creative and help your gifted students stay interactive in the classroom, intrigued in the content, as well as just on task. You can give the students a choice in how they perform their work and what they do. They can do a project, they could do a speech, they could do some type of skit in order to show you that they are understanding that content. You can give students an opportunity to teach the content that you're going over. If they are able to help other students individually, that keeps them kind of on task, as well as you can have them teach the whole lesson to the whole class. Another way to kind of help these students progress is allow the student to work through the unit curriculum at their own pace. It's not the entire curriculum for the whole year, it is just that unit, but they aren't having to stop or slow down or wait for someone else to finish their work or to move on. So my next slide, it contains a video that talks about just 6 ways to get a child interactive and on task in the classroom if they become bored. I'll let you see the title of it and maybe 1 or 2 examples, but the entire video is pretty long, so I can't show you the whole thing. But I'll skip to your first one. You want to do like a cluster group, which is basically you are grouping students towards their ability. So your gifted student is going to be in a group with other children who are in the same like-mindedness as them. The second is going to be allowing the gifted student to have an alternate assignment. So again, it goes back to giving them that choice of how they present that they know that information to you. So our next subtopic is conferencing and how conferencing allows you to get to know your students and how it benefits not only you and that gifted student, but the classroom as well. So getting to know your students on a personal level, such as interests, strengths, weaknesses, fears, challenges, that can all happen in a conference with your student. When do you want to do this? You can do it at the beginning of the year, which is what I would suggest, just so that you can start the school year out with knowing exactly kind of where your gifted student lies as far as curriculum goes, as far as what they know, what they don't know, what they feel they're strong at, what they feel they're weak at. This allows you to kind of go through the school year and stay up to date with them, check in with them, and it also creates a positive relationship between you and your student, so that that student can come to you when they feel like they are struggling, or when they feel like the work is way too easy for them. It opens up that communication pathway. So as a teacher, when you conference with your students, you build confidence in that gifted student, um, so that he or she can come to you and say, I'm struggling, or this is too easy. Can I get some kind of different work? And you can also learn what they're afraid of so that you can kind of combat this feeling throughout the school year, such as getting bullied or failing or not being good at enough at another subject versus the one subject that they are good at. So that's just a few ways that conferencing helps your classroom. We have results of just how communication helps in the classroom. It just makes the student feel like they are succeeding more, that they're not afraid to speak up, and that they feel like they can come to you to find a way to help their education progress instead of digress. Our next topic is going to be age grouping. So appropriate placement for gifted students is very, very, very important. If you hold a gifted child back by not allowing them to move to the correct grade level, it can hinder their academic performance in a huge way because they get bored in the classroom, they get distracted, and then they distract other kids. So when a child performs above their grade level academically, it becomes more difficult on the child and the teacher if they aren't given the proper educational opportunities that they deserve. So I want to talk about a few benefits and also a few negative consequences that come from placing a child correctly and or incorrectly. Some benefits are that the child works alongside like-minded children in that ability group. They are working at the same pace. They are not having to stop or wait for other students. When they get stuck on something, they can rely on their group, and they don't have to necessarily pull the teacher away from another group that's possibly struggling more with the content that is being taught. Some negative consequences that are faced if the child is not placed in the correct level. They often, again, become bored and distracted, and they distract other classmates, or they decide that they don't want to do the work anymore because it's too easy. This can have a negative emotional impact on the child as well. I know from my personal experience, I've seen a child who is gifted cry every morning because they didn't want to go to school. It was too boring for them. They weren't engaged properly, and so they didn't find any fun in the school day whatsoever. Our next topic, I'm going to debunk a few myths. Essentially, this is just talking about how these myths that are told that, gifted students are better off if they are with students their own age. They were born gifted, and also that gifted students should be in a heterogeneous classroom, again with same age students. So our first myth is that students are better off in a heterogeneous classroom. This is very much false. They can still thrive in a heterogeneous classroom if it is structured to benefit the gifted child. However, these gifted students are going to excel more accurately in a homogeneous classroom where they are working with children who are working at their same ability level. This common misconception is built on the expectation that socially your child can only flourish in same age groups. This is not true. If a student feels like they are succeeding academically in a group of students who are older than them, they are more likely to open up and have socialization with these students because they don't feel isolated anymore. They don't feel different anymore. Um, and that's a huge deal. Gifted students often feel very isolated, very different in their classrooms. They feel set apart from their classmates because they are working faster, they are working harder. And it's not that regular education students who are not gifted are not working just as hard. It is just that gifted students don't struggle. And also, in my experience, the inferiority complex creates a huge social divide. So, again, if that student feels isolated or set apart from their peers, if they feel bullied or made fun of in any way, they are going to separate themselves from that group of students and not communicate with them. The second myth that I'm going to talk about is being born gifted. Students are not born gifted. It is something that comes through time, and you can expose your child to a variety of information at a young age, and they are likely to have a higher intelligence level due to that exposure of books and numbers and multiple languages. Up until age 5, their language perception is spot on. They can develop so many different languages until about age 5, and then after that, your response time kind of goes down and you don't really develop it as quickly. But this can create such a diversity in their intelligence level because they're building on their vocabulary and their number index and their language perceptions. Our next myth is going to be that gifted students should be with students their own age. This common misconception is also fueled by the belief that students need to associate with children their own age so that they can become social. This is not correct. Again, socialization does not depend on your age. It depends on how comfortable you feel with the people around you. So regardless of that age, if a student becomes bored in the classroom, they're more than likely going to find something to do to occupy their time. It doesn't matter if it distracts the teacher or the classmates. They're bored and they want to feel engaged and they want to feel seen and heard, and so they're going to do what they can to make that happen. It's important to understand that socialization aspect of your child's education comes with time and confidence. The relationships that they build with the students around them, they have to feel comfortable in that atmosphere. They have to feel comfortable with those specific children in order to build on their socialization, and that will come with time. Here are my references.